Thank you, Mike. Ta-da.
Thank you, Mike. This is my daughter, Janine Revy Matchers.
Hi, everyone. This is my lovely father, Tom Revy.
I just want to start off with saying I really appreciate being invited here. And it's not because I'm in this park right now that I'm saying this, but the Beast has been my favorite coaster. Since the first time I rode it, before it was open to the public in the spring of '79. It was also my first out of the shop work experience. My boss, Sam High, who I worked for 16 years, and then he told me he wanted me to buy the company from him, which I didn't plan any of this. I came to Philadelphia Toboggan just to stop working in the tile factory. And I just figured, I'm gonna work here until I find a better job. It's 48 years later, I'm still looking for a better job. But I came to Kings Island at like 23 or 24 years old. Didn't know what to expect because, like I said, it was the first time I ever out of the shop to work on the Beast cars. And I just fell in love with this place. Now, my home park, the closest one is Dorney Park, and I grew up in part of the Philadelphia area, in Cheltenham, and my dad was a cop there. And the Willow Grove Park was my home park growing up, but ended up Dorney Park is the closest to us. But they're all great parks, but this place just holds a lot of special memories for me because I spent a week here installing the lap bars or the handrails in the cars because we shipped them here, and I'll explain that as we go along, without handrails. And it was just a fun week, and it was a lot of work, but then 2 weeks later, we were asked to send somebody back again, so I came back the second time, readjusted everything because the Beast kind of moved fast and shaked and rattled, and little things came loose, and so I had readjusted everything, but the second time I was there, it was just all get out fun for me. There was a third time, and you'll see a photograph of a young man that I hired and worked for me for 2 years, and then he went back to being an engineer. So you'll see a photograph of Mike Bootley, who he ended up with Claire Hayne opening Great Coasters International, and it's amazing how many people worked for Philadelphia Toboggan and then moved on to something else for bigger, better things, whatever you want to, way you look at it. But somebody did a chart once and they said that all coasters lead back to Philadelphia Toboggan, which we found very interesting, and it's in a lot of our literature that we hand out to people. How many people here were at our open house in the Coaster Con? That little, huh?
Well, they're not all ACE members, and that was an ACE event.
Well, if you're up in the Philadelphia region doing a coaster run or whatever, you feel free to give us a call and let us know in advance, and we'll give you a tour. And there's a couple gentlemen here, the three Steves. Where are you guys sitting at?
There's two right here.
He's not feeling well, but he came anyway, so I'm going to stay away from him. But they came and took a private tour, or the one Steve did, I'm sorry, and we gave him a tour. And we're open to do anything. And the parking's free. So
Admission's free too.
yeah, admission's free too. How many people got their lanyard today? We just wanted to add on to your magical experience of being here. We thought, well, we'll give you a little something. And it was very nice. A couple of people walked by, and one lady in particular said, "This is my new lanyard for the rest of my life." And I was like, I'll give you a second one just in case that wears out. So.
just a little gift from us to you, so thank you for being here.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, there's gonna be different things here. One of the things I did on my second visit here was I borrowed my uncle's Super 8 projector, or camera. And it came, and you had to put cartridges into this thing with the Super 8 film. And when I had time, I walked the entire length of the Beast, and you'll see, it was, when we put all the film together, it was a reel about that big, and it was stuck in the back of my desk drawer, and I found it a couple of years ago, sent it to a place in California who digitized it and put it on thumb drive, so we brought that. So that's gonna show in the background as we go along, so you got something better to look at than me standing here blabbling away.
Let's start the presentation from the top.
Go ahead.
So, as Tom mentioned, we're Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters, Inc., formerly Philadelphia Toboggan Company, but always PTC or PTCI. And we've been around since officially 1902. We were Philadelphia Carousel Company. 1904, it changed to Philadelphia Toboggan Company. And we've been around for 121 years. Still going strong. Thank you. The logo has had quite an evolution.
Evolution, yes.
Yes. So we'd like you to just sit back and relax and dry off a little bit to learn a little history.
That's one thing about that logo. It's not for sale. No, seriously, it's not. I've had a lot of people ask us about the gift shop. And I always just tell them it's still under construction. When we had the open house, I went to my wood shop and I said, make the cheesiest looking gift shop you can think of. Put the letters backwards, whatever. So he went out and got a bunch of old rickety pallets, screwed them all together, and when we had the open house, we gave away t-shirts to everybody. Hey, is anybody wearing our t-shirt that was given away that week?
Doesn't look like
Oh, it's a shame.
darn.
it kind of looked like that. So, anyways, the one thing that I will not do, and I hope the tradition passes along as you need, is the logo's not for sale. I don't sell T-shirts. If you're somebody special, and look to your right, look at the person that's in the right. Now look at the left. You're all special because you got this. Those of you that are the oldest child in your family growing up, good for you. If you're the youngest, man, really good for you. If you're middle, nobody cares about you anyway, so. I'm a middle child. I know Jean is my oldest, middle, and youngest child, so.
And the favorite.
And the favorite. And the favorite. So a little bit about the two of us. Me, like I said, I worked at a tile factory. I went to school for police science, went through the Pennsylvania State Police Academy, then Temple University, and has nothing, I figured, I'm just here to do a better job. But I love putting stuff together and finding new ways to make things stronger and better. And I ended up working for Toboggan, and I figured I'd just hang out until I find something else, like I said. But
what was your first job at Toboggan?
first job was I sat on a drill press with a pallet of wood about that big. There were 2 pallets actually, and they were all the slats that go. There were 23 slats that go into a 3-seater car, and I had to put a hole in each end or 2 holes in each end. And I sat there with a drill press, just sliding the piece down, drilling the holes, and I'm thinking, I left a $4.55 an hour job for $4.25. What am I making? Oh, that's right, I hate making tile. This isn't so bad. So that was my first job at Toboggan. Then I learned how to read blueprints. I learned how to make the other parts, build the chassis, build the upper bodies to the chassis, and put something together you look at for months while you're doing this, and then all of a sudden it's done. And you're watching it being picked up by the forklift, they put it on the truck, and it's leaving you, and I've everything, even now, usually, are there any insurance people here or lawyers? I'm not supposed to be in the shop driving a forklift because they say I'm
too important.
No, I'm not. No important than anybody else in the building. So I like to drive the forklift and load the cars and unload the cars. And Janine usually videos it, make sure that she doesn't put my face in the shot. So
Tom started in the coaster division.
Yep.
But we have always been more than just coasters. So as you can see up here, we have our original building, our Germantown location, where the company started. And then the center photo here showcases a little bit of everything. You've got some coaster wheels in the bottom, a nice Nightmare Fuel laughing Sal head on the corner of the workbench table, some carousel parts hiding in the back. And really, when the amusement industry got rolling in the early 1900s and 20s, you could come to PTC and we could supply you with your carousel, your coasters, your fun houses, your stunts, your mill chutes. So over there on the right side of the screen is actually the mill chute ride from Coney Island, Cincinnati that we had in our archives that we were part of. But time goes on, and Tom comes to work in 1977 to PTC in the roller coaster division.
That's me standing there with, I did have dark hair a long time ago. The gentleman in the middle, that's Noli Janata. He worked for the company, he was an engineer. He worked with John Allen Schmeck, and he was the chief engineer when I came to work there. And we were out, he came out one day, we were just talking, and somebody just took a shot at the two of us there. And but Noli, he was about this tall and funny as all get out, but he was a good engineer. He could come up with things. He did a lot of design work with Allen and Schmeck.
So we're going to jump and fast forward a little bit here before we dive into the Beast and Tom's first on-site project.
So this is Sam High, who used to be my boss, and his family owned the company after his dad and his granddad were corporate lawyers, and they ended up acquiring all the stock in lieu of payment. This is me in the middle because I don't know why, but anyway, I ended up there, and that was Tom Longatano, who used to work in our shop. But the one thing, and point your little red thingy up there, this was an interview in 1991, and I was asked what the favorite coaster is. So it's in print in many places, but this is the one we could find it in our archives. Go ahead. That's Sam and I riding the Wolf Bobs, or the Timberwolf, sorry. It was opening day, the ribbon cutting ceremony. They were nice enough to invite us, and I was lucky enough. Somebody took this shot of us, and I'm just so happy that I have a picture of Sam and I doing that.
I think we should all go back to wearing suits and dresses riding roller coasters. Wouldn't that be fun?
I got dressed up for you folks today. I'm not wearing blue jeans, I'm wearing slacks.
All right, so the Beast. Let's talk about the Beast. John Allen, there is a famous lore out in the community that he was approached by Kings Island to do the Beast.
Kurt Summers in engineering.
Yep, and John was into his retirement, and he really didn't want to come out of it, but there's a funny story that he came out and met with some park engineers here at Kings Island and said, you know, all you really need to know is physics, so here are the formulas on the back of a restaurant menu. Have at it. Good luck.
I think they did pretty good. Now,
so here's something fun.
This was the original artist concept that was sent to us for the Beast. And at the time, I'd been with the company 9 months, and they asked me to take over as shop foreman. And that was early 78. And next thing I know, they're calling me in the office and saying, we got a project and we're gonna we want you, we're gonna give you 4 guys in this side of the building and your 5 guys working in the shop. They're gonna make the parts, you're gonna bounce from this side to that side, because we gotta build all these cars for this new ride in Kings Island. This was the artist concept. And then I was told, put everything together for one car, because we're going to ship it to Kings Island with no paint. They're going to do the paint job, then they're going to put it on a truck, send it to Atlanta for the IAAPA show, International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, and they're going to present it, and it's going to be this big opening about the Beast. So the one car we did, and I have a photograph, but it is so out of focus that we don't want to put it up here, but we have the original artist concept that Kings Island sent us, and that's what the Beast was going to look like. Fire engine red, tuck and rolled seats. They got buttons in them things. You know what happens when people get in there with combs and 18-speed wallets with the chains hanging? They pop all the buttons off. So that was the biggest problem the first 2 weeks of the park opened. The Beast was the buttons keep coming off of the seats because people keep picking them and pulling and taking souvenirs and whatever. So they ended up putting just smooth upholstery, and they did a great job. They got it all done so quick. But this is what the train would look like. Fire engine red, and it had gold leaf paint on the seat sides. The same stuff we put on our fire. I belong to 2 different fire departments. The same stuff that we had put on our fire truck, gold leaf. So that's what it's supposed to look like. And then somebody at Kings Island said, we're calling this the Beast. The frilly Beast? So they changed the whole idea. They took the lantern off, the the cow catcher off the front of it. And then we sent the cars out, like I said earlier, they weren't even painted. And because we didn't have the handrails ready to go, the foam injectors hadn't done in time. And that's why I came out here for the first time to install the handrails. And I'm looking at all these cars, and you're gonna see it in the video. Like I said, I took as much as I could because I figured something about doing this job special. And I'm glad I did because I preserved from 1979 and I got it digitized, so let's go.
Bree's working on it.
Okay. They painted the cars in this blend color. It went from one color into the next all the way down the sides, and as you can see, there's no music, there's no sound, so if you have a question, keep it to the end. These cars they were out in one of the picnic pavilions, as you can see, and the side there, it looks like it has scratches on it. That's a brass, kind of a brass plate. I forget if it was aluminum bronze or not, but that was where the side kicker wheels would catch the cars and shoot you out to keep the speed up so the next train behind you would not catch up. We don't like that in this industry. As much as you folks, please don't ever say we do. I went around to each different color car, obviously, and it's just, try to stay awake here, folks. It's going to get a little better, seriously. See the tuck and roll upholstery? You don't see that anymore. How many of you have buttons off the seat side, the seat back? I know you people got it.
How long did it take to build the cars?
We started in August, September, cutting the materials. The chassis on the Beast, Noli was so concerned about the size of this roller coaster and how fast they were estimating it was going to go, that the chassis had to be built up. We wanted to make them stronger. Now there's a main rail that runs on both sides of the car, down where your feet are. You can look, you'll probably see it, but you wouldn't recognize it unless it was off the car. We call it a Z-bar, and it's aluminum extruded piece, which if you look at the end, it looks like a Z. We normally get it at 3/8 thick. We had to order a bigger size because we were concerned about, number one, height and speeds it was going to reach. So they had to order it, and it was 9/16 thick on the aluminum. And we had to order like 50 pieces of 25-foot long, and we had that stuff for years afterwards. Like Kings Island ended up buying it all from us because they said, well, if you've got it and it's in raw form, we'll just buy it from you and we'll make the part as we need it. So this was just shots all down the park, and sorry for the quick panning on things. I was very patriotic at that moment.
So let's talk about why you came out here for
Well,
this visit.
like I said, I put the handrails in, and I think that was one of the test runs that had sandbags in the car. Which I'll tell you a funny story. My very first ride on the Beast, everybody broke for lunch, and right at this spot, right where that cover is, but it has nothing to do with what I'm going to tell you, but that's the spot. One of the guys in the maintenance, Charlie Wright, been here for a long time, worked on the Scooby-Doo, which is now the Woodstock, also worked on the Racer. But he says to me, and it was right after lunch, he says, have you ridden this yet? And I was like, no. I said, no, because at lunchtime, everybody who was in the office would come down like a tidal wave. You see all these white shirts and ties coming along, and they climb up on the stairway, and everybody was piling in, taking rides at lunchtime on the Beast. So he says, come on, let's go, I'll take you for a ride. So we get in the front seat. We come out of the station, we go around the track, and as we're driving on, I'm looking around, I'm like, this is pretty cool. We're getting to ride this before the public over on. And we got to that point, and Charlie goes, close your eyes and shut your mouth. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I wasn't going to yell or scream or anything. Here, one of the masons, instead of carrying a 100-pound bag or a 50-pound bag of cement underneath the structure, threw it up on the track. And we came around the curve. Charlie freaked out. We hit that bag of cement and we were covered, just dust. And we're riding through this ride, and it's my first ride, and I'm, and we're riding, we go all the way through it, and I'm hanging on, trying to see in the blur of this dust. But we go all the way around the ride, and we come back, and everybody in the station, their eyes are open, and some of them, people were laughing, and they're going, you guys all right? Yeah, they said it was funny because we knew exactly where the train was. It looked like a Jeep going through the Serengeti. It was just dust coming around the whole entire track behind you. So there's just different shots, obviously. It was a nice spring day that you could see. The rain was falling, and much like today. I heard it's sunshine out there now, which is good.
A little less leaves on the trees, though.
Yeah. So that was my very first ride. And then months later, when Mike Boodley started working for me, Mike in 1974 held the world's record for endurance on a roller coaster. He rode the Coney Island Cyclone for like 3.5 days. He did the Guinness World Record thing. And there's pictures of Mike as he's trying to get out of the car, and he's just like drooling, and he doesn't like it when I tell that story. But Mike, all he talked about was the Coney Island Cyclone. Nothing will ever beat the Coney Island Cyclone. Coney Island Cyclone is the best coaster in the world. And I'm like, you gotta go out and ride this piece. It can't be any better than Coney Island Cyclone. Can't be. So Mike and I come out, there's the car as pretty as ever. There's the crowds waiting to ride them. So as the summer goes along, Mike says, hey, let's go ride some roller coasters for a week. Let's take a week's vacation. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. He says, yeah, we'll take my mom's car. And when I pulled the driveway, I found out it was a 77 Pinto station wagon. Had no air conditioning and had no radio in it. So he hooked up an 8-track with his hard metal, heavy metal, 8-track cassettes popping in this thing. We ended up stopping at a Sears, and I bought a John Denver tape and a George Carlin tape, and we took turns playing tapes. So we did a coaster run, and we started in Pennsylvania, and went up to Music, PA, and across the Harvey's Lake, and then out to Kennywood Park, and then up to Waldameer Park, and a couple other parks in between that had coasters that are now defunct. And so we're riding on different, we come over to Cedar Point. I called Charlie in and tell him we're coming down, and he says, oh, you just come to the maintenance, and I'll, make sure you get in. And so we came in, and Mike and I went over, we stood in line and waited, and we got on the Beast, and Mike's like, yeah, that's pretty good. But the Coney Island Cyclone was a lot better, And I was like, how can you even match it? It's not even the same category. That's a cyclone coaster. This is a true out and back with a double lift hill and 120-foot double helix. So I just can say, all I did was walk along behind him, film the train going up. You see that bunch of people? Well, when it comes over the other side, it's a whole new bunch of people in there because I just walked around the track as this was running to the public and took this Super 8, which is now a video. So Mike is going on about how good it was, or Coney Island. So while we're here, I bumped into one of the maintenance guys. I forget his last name. His first name was Tom. I remember that. I don't know why. But he says, "Hey, I didn't know you were here. What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just out here. We're doing a roller-coaster run." He goes, "Well, where you stay?" And this is part of the deal. We were camping. We had a 2-man pump tent. Look at the size of me. Look at her. Mike was just a little bigger than her, but not as big as me. We spent one night in the tent, and that was it. And we ended up mooching off a friend that lived out in Pittsburgh, another one where we stayed at his aunt and uncle's house. But we were bumping into Tom, and he goes, "What are you guys doing here?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we're probably going to go over to the campground, see if we can get something." And Mike's like, "I'm going to sleep in back of the car. I'm not sleeping in that tent." All right. Tom says, "Just come to my house. I got an extra room. You guys, one can have the bed, the other can sleep, take his sleep bag on the floor." So we spent the night at his house, jumping off the deck into his pool, because it was a hot, steamy, buggy night. And so that was one of the fun things. Then when we came back the next day, Tom said, "Oh, I'm working third shift, stick around." So we did. And I kind of knew why he asked us to stick around. I didn't tell him why. So we go up on the Beast. At closing, they do the fireworks a little bit, and then the park's closed. But you don't have enough weight in the cars to get them back up into the station, into the staging area, in the braking area after the helix, or before, after the helix, but before the station. There's not enough weight in, so they had to run them out. So here's all these young kids that all worked here on the rides. They're all running over, jumping in the cars. Tom says to Mike and I, "Get in." So we sit in the front seat. We go around the track, no lights and no brakes, because they needed the speed to get it all the way up the next hill, around the helix, and then in. And the moment we came into the braking station, as soon as that car stopped, we were out, running down the track. We hopped into the next train, and we went out. So we did this 3 times.
Were those trains stopping?
Sort of. Not as faster than I can now. And they weren't exactly stopping, but it didn't, it wasn't so. Anyways, when we were done, Mike was like, "This is the greatest ride in the world. It's wonderful. It's amazing. They should run it without the brakes all the time." And I'm like, no, I don't think they want to do that to the general public. So Mike fell in love with the Beast, but I'm sure he has his other favorite coasters. In fact, I should call him and ask him sometime. I haven't talked to him in a couple of months. But that was one of the fun experiences. Going back to my very second time I was here, when they came back out to retune everything, my boss said, "Just stay there for a couple of days, make sure that everything's okay. As he put it, hold the park's hand just in case they get worried about something with the trains." So I did, and that's where the first time I bumped into the maintenance fellow, Tom. And he said, it was just him and I, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta hang out until closing. What are you doing for dinner?" I said, "I don't know, I was just gonna grab something at one of the stands." So go into a stand, we get a bunch of hamburgers and fries and drinks. And he said, "Come on, I know a great place to have dinner." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll follow you." We go over to the Eiffel Tower, and we go up the elevators to the platform where you get off and you look over. And I'm thinking, why are we going up here? I don't remember picnic tables here. He goes around, he unlocks the door, undoes the bolt, tells the security guard up there that we're going to be inside. He says, okay. Goes inside, locks the bolt, goes over, climbs up the ladder, and opens up a hatch. And he takes the food, and I climb up, the 2 of us sitting up on top of the Eiffel Tower with the hatch open, looking down at the park with all the lights going on, the tracer lights along the coasters. And I remember just looking over going, maybe I'll stick it out with this job. This looks like kind of fun. Don't get to do this kind of stuff. So that was the first time that I spent a whole week just hanging out at the park. And there were people at times, like I would ride the Beast, like 3 or 4 times, and the kids that were running it, I used to call them kids because they were younger than me. They knew who I was and why I was there, and so I just sat there, and sometimes I'd ride the next car back, and I just watched how everything was coupled and everything was shaking along, and then somebody else would get on, and they go, "You were on here earlier this morning. Were you riding for a world's record?" No, this is my job. What do you mean it's your job? Well, I work for the company, we built these trains, and I was sent out here to make sure that everything's okay with it. How do you get a job like that? I said, I don't know. I just came here till I found a better job, and I'm thinking I'm gonna like this. Trust me, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't plan to buy a company, do anything. But I'm so glad that things happen to you for reasons that I can't explain. And you meet the most amazing people, and you're going to meet a couple of them after us that are very special to the Beast. And there's people in this amusement industry that are just wonderful. It's just the nicest people. You know, everybody says, oh, East Coast, Philadelphia, you people are so, throw snowballs at Santa at football games. I wasn't even, I didn't do that. But I found in your travels, no matter where you go, you meet amusement park people, and they are different. And you think they're nice here just because you're here. They're nice like that all the time. We last night, Mike set us up for dinner at the brew house, yes. And a very nice young lady came over and took our orders, and we got talking to her. She's been here 7 years. Her name was Shelby. And I remember that because I have a Shelby. But she was so nice. She was telling us the history of her career working here at Kings Island and how much she likes it. It's not an act. People just stay here for jobs, or any amusement parks just stay for lifelong jobs. Some of the folks here, I've asked it in the last day that we've been here, like, how long have you been here? Oh, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. I started here when I was 16, and it just gets in your blood. It's just fun. Oh, there are days I just don't want to even go to work, but I do. Maybe because
it's a great industry, it really is.
See, Jane didn't give a little bit of background on her, so go ahead. A little bit of you. First roller coaster she ever rode was at King's Dominion. She was 4 years old. I had my arm around her sitting in the front seat of the Scooby-Doo ride, and I'm holding her right wrist, and I'm trying to talk her, and she's looking around and laughing, and I'm saying, it's good, it's going to be fun. It's not that tall, it doesn't go fast, it's not violent, isn't it? We get to the top of that Scooby-Doo ride, and I'm thinking, oh God, don't let her start crying. This would be a horrible picture if somebody takes it. And as we crest the hill and go over, this one goes. And I'm sitting there.
Coaster enthusiast was born.
And I'm sitting there going, no, crap. Oh, it's all done.
It's all done.
Oh, that was 15 minutes of your life. You'll never get back from me talking to you.
That's some very special footage, though. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like opening the Disney Vault. That hasn't come out of Tom's desk for a very long time. So kudos to you. You get to see it. But real quickly, just about me. I went to school to be in education. I'm a certified teacher in Pennsylvania, birth to 6th grade, so I could teach 0 to 12 years. And I came out of college in a rough spot during a tough time in our teachers union. And yes.
Can I tell my favorite part?
Sure.
Okay, she hates this. So it's her senior year in college, and she just wouldn't drop things and go to China with me. And no, I got to stay and do finals, Dad. I can't just go away and do something. It's it's winter break. We're in Vail, Colorado. We're at the top of the mountain at 2 Elks Lodge, having lunch, And I said to her, well, in May you graduate, what are you going to do then? She says, well, I don't want to take a full-time job because I'm going to be going out and I'm looking for a teaching job. And I'm going on job interviews and I've got so many resumes out. I don't know. I don't want to wait tables. I don't want to take a job and then have to leave. And it's not right for the other people to have to cover for me. And I'm supposed to be there to do a job. I said, well, you need an understanding boss that knows your career goals and is willing to let you drop it and leave it at the drop of a hat. She goes, yeah. And I go,
I wasn't looking for a job from him.
I surprise you, you will not be the princess. You will not be anybody special because I'm not anybody special. I just was lucky enough to do what I'm doing. And if you stick it out until you find your teaching job, so 15 years later,
I'm still looking. Now, I ended up pulling my resume about 4 months into working full time and just kind of fell in love with what I was learning and still learning. So it's 14 years now, headed into 15. I've got to catch up to Tom's 48 wealth of knowledge, but it's great. It's a really fun industry. It's so special, and working with your dad every day, it's very special.
I come into work and I have to pass her office first. And if she doesn't have her 2 wiener dogs in there, she usually greets me. The wiener dogs are there, they're jumping up and down, they want to, but she usually greets me with a smile and says good morning. So for me, it's Father's Day every day for me to go to work anymore.
We like to have a lot of fun at work, and we could regale you with the nonsense we get into at the shop, but we're here to focus. Grab us later, we can tell you those fun stories. So jumping back in, here's Mike and Tom on one of their road trips in the 90s where I forget what park.
We were in Knoebels. And we were in Knoebels and they had just opened up the, no, it wasn't Twisted, it's the Flying Turrets, thank you. We didn't build it, I just don't remember it. But yeah, Mike came out of retirement and worked with Dick Knoebel. And how many been to Knoebels? The rest of you people need to get out and over to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has the most amusement parks per capita.
Behind California.
Right. There are a lot of great rides, a lot of great parks there, a lot of roller coasters. And if you haven't ridden the Phoenix, see, look at all the whoops you just got. So it's a fun ride.
So jumping back to Kings Island and PTC's history. So here you'll see we have John Allen, who was very instrumental in the Racer. Have you gotten any rides on the Racer yet during your visit? A couple of you? Yeah, you'll ride it later. But so he was in charge of designing that lovely racing coaster that Kings Island has done a tremendous job at keeping up. It opened in 1972, and I really love the red, white, and blue paint scheme on it. It's really special, makes it pop.
I got to meet John Allen 6 times. I was, like I said, shop foreman, and he would come through the shop, and he had a little bit of a limp because he had broken a leg, and it was never that problem, but he'd come walking through the shop, and he'd go, hey kid, how you making out? And I'm like, I come over, yes sir, no sir. And I just read a book called Fun Time USA. The first guy's name is Tim, and he's got his second name is, thank you, I knew somebody would know it. But there was an interview with John in there, this same picture, I believe, and they asked him what he thinks about steel coasters. And in the interview, he says, don't like them, because I don't know anybody small enough that could walk through those tubes to check the welds. That's what the book said. So I just told him I read the book and I thought it was interesting what he said about the steel coasters. And I said, how you feel about it now? So it was like, the book was like a year or two, a couple of years old, and he just goes, I don't know any that could fit inside those tubes. And I'm like, you didn't see that in the book, but I can understand why. It's like, John was not real PC about stuff. He was fun to talk to, but... Sorry? Okay.
So here's a nice shot from 72 from our archives of when the racer is being built.
I think they had plans to fill in a whole bunch of other stuff around it somewhere.
And then some just nice coaster photos. Maybe you'll see your friends in there. So another coaster in this great park that PTC has had a part in is the Scooby-Doo, originally now known as Woodstock Express. John Allen also designed that and worked with the park. That year he designed, I believe, 3 style Scooby-Doos that went out across the country. Currently in our archives, we don't have any photos of it as Woodstock Express, so I need to get some of those. It's had a couple names, the Beastie being one of them. And then also the carousel has a part of PTC history. So it is PTC number 79. Our company did 84 carousels total from 1904 to about 1937. I still get phone calls to this day, people looking for carousels or carousel parts. Well, don't you build them? And I say, I am so sorry to share this news with you, but our carousel division closed in about 1938. Oh, wow. So I'm really looking forward to the phone call in 2039, where I get to tell someone that carousel division has been closed 100+ years. But we still supply parts for carousels. We just don't do horse carvings anymore or build them from the ground up. But originally, number 79 was built for Coney Island in Cincinnati, and in 1972, it came to Kings Island.
What I was told by Noli Janata and my old boss, Sam, they stopped building carousels in 1938 because they were too expensive. Parks just couldn't afford to have a carousel because they cost like $6,500 to $8,000 for the entire carousel.
Funny how times have changed. And one more shot of that lovely carousel. Did you get a chance to ride that yet? A couple of us? Yeah. I mean, what a great, anchor ride for a park. You really feel at home in an amusement park when it has a carousel and roller coaster. So for 53 years, we've been working with Kings Island. It's been a great partnership. It's a great park to work with.
There was a gentleman who worked there, and he was head of the maintenance division, and he called and asked me if I was willing to build trains for a ride that was not PTC. And we looked into it, and then I called him back and said, I don't think I'm going to get involved with this one. And he said, well, we'll talk about it more later. And we came up to the trade show, and he came walking up to me. And he said, in the booth, and he asked me, he said, have you changed your mind? I said, no, I don't want to do this. And I said, there's a reason behind it. And I said, you're a good friend. Kings Island has been a great friend. And I'd like to keep it that way, because I don't want to see something go wrong and then our friendship is no longer going to be there. So let's just keep the status quo. And that's the way I feel about a lot of parks. They're good friends, and lot of personal relationships with the parks owners. And the parks, sometimes, as you may not know, like, is it Sunday your last day or Saturday? Saturday. He's retiring. He had his party yesterday, and we kind of interrupted it, but he was nice enough to come out and chat with us. But he may go, but there's always somebody just as nice. He'll take his face, I'm sure. Where are we at?
We're at the end, and technically 8 minutes left. So
Ooh.
if anybody has a question, we can entertain.
Go ahead, you were first. Wow.
Would you add new trains to the racer?
Would we add new trains to the racer?
Sure.
If Kings Island wants them.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So what inspired you to work for Philadelphia Toboggan?
Because I hated making bathroom tile. I did it for 4 years. It was dirty. It was horrible. Ovens at 2,100 degrees. You got to work around. No, I had enough. I came into the firehouse and they sound just like I did now. As then